Welcome to week 13 of Manufacturing 256. Yeah, we're winding things down here. So, again, a little bit of a drop off last week. I think I only have 18 completed so far. Again, things are wrapping up here, so don't want to drag this out any longer and put yourself in a big hole. Keep warning you about that, but you guys are so close. You know, you need to finish this, and we'll figure out how we're going to wrap this thing up. So, with that, I believe Steve's going to be sending out a package of final exams either sometime later this week or early next week. I am going to try to put mine online also. I think if I can get it to work, it seems like the Blackboard test thing gives you like instant feedback for grading and stuff, so I have to play around with that a little bit this week, and I'll update you on that. But there will be a paper copy going out also, to be your choice to do it however you see fit. So what's going on in the world, this is the new normal for everyone. Even here at work, if I'm away from my desk, any of the common areas or down in the shop, we have to wear a mask at all times now. Company policy, along with the state directives for, if you're out in public at all. Actually, in Rhode Island, even in businesses, there is a directive that, we have to have things, face coverings of some sort. So I think that's kind of from all the things we're hearing in the news, that's going to be the new normal kind of from now on, until we can get a handle on this thing with a vaccine or cures or some kind of control over it. So, little inconvenience, but you get used to it, and if it can keep us all healthy, then that's what we need to do. So also at work, again, we've still been super busy with quoting. The defense related stuff is just booming from multiple customers that we deal with. It's just one quote package after another, and we're starting to get some of the smaller things in. So again, I keep telling you, there's going to be work out there for you. One issue you may find is with something that's happening here is because we don't have the office personnel. We're kind of in a hiring freeze right now. Again, we don't want to bring a lot of new people into the building. We're trying to minimize that, any guests or visitors or anything like that we have to clamp down on. So there might be a little bit of a hold, trying to get a job in the next, month or so, but hopefully things start to open up after that. And I have seen some companies are being pretty progressive with doing online interviews and things like that. So keep putting your resumes out there, and there's definitely plenty of work out there. So it's just a matter of when you can get out there to do it. So all right, so I finally finished that extrusion video and got that all edited. It's up on YouTube now. My bosses were a little more concerned about this one because it shows the extrusion process, which is what our bread and butter is, how we make our money. So they're only going to allow me to keep that one posted up for about a week. I tried to be as vague as possible as I could with it, not really show any of the machine settings or anything like that. But it's short, it's only 5 minutes, but definitely it'll give you a chance to see how that mandrel we created in the other video, is utilized to make a tube. So check that one out. That brings us to this week's assignments. Chapter 9.1 is basic math. Don't worry, there aren't going to be any equations or anything like that. They call it basic math, but it's more just kind of an overview of how math is used in the shop, and it's almost a combination of blueprint reading and basic basic measuring tools. Also, they talk about scales and tape measures, and how to figure out how long a job's going to take you based on how long it takes to make one part. So simple things. Again, no equations or anything that you have to do on that test. So you should breeze through that one. Then they get into basic mill cutting tools. So again, these are all the things you're familiar with now: drills, taps, end mills, radius mills, chamfer mills, things like that. They're mainly talking about processing mild steels, aluminums, things like that. But they do mention, and I know I've mentioned it in class before, as you get into the exotic metals, the high temp alloys, Inconels, Manels, all those things, you really have to make sure you have the proper tooling and that you have your speeds and feed rates dialed in. It's a very small window when they work. Also with production machining, even if you are in, you know, milder materials, aluminum or, you know, regular general purpose steel, when you get into production, you know, high quantities, that's, you know, really the opportunity to tweak things out, save seconds out of your programs. You know, seconds add up to minutes when you're talking, you know, thousands of parts. So by getting proper tools, they do mention it's kind of, you get what you pay for a lot of times. There are cheap generic end mills out there that are fine, you know, for cheap generic work, but when you're really trying to push the limits, as you get into, you know, utilizing a cam system to really, you know, like I, you know, mentioned these whiz-bang programs you see on the internet all the time. You know, these things are fine-tuned and dialed in and using very specific cutters with very specific feeds and speeds. So the next chapter, 10.2, they get into materials. Again, just kind of bit of an important, you know, thing to just be able to recognize different materials just by looking at them, you know, kind of feeling them, what the weight is, you know, whether it's steel, aluminum, things like that. So, you know, if you're in a general shop, you may just, they send you over to the rack, go get a piece of aluminum, make it out of that. As you find, you know, depending on what type of shop you're in, definitely if you're dealing with any of the medical or defense related stuff, you're actually going to have certified material. It's has a, you know, tracking number assigned to it, the lot number that it came from, you know, came out of the mill with. You need to have that lot number on all your paperwork. You know, a lot of times it almost needs, you know, needs to stay on the material. So if you're going to machine that number off, you got to like re-stamp it on there or re-engrave it on there as soon as you're done with it. They need that traceability. You know, some of these parts that we work on here, they're called sub-safe parts, level 3 sub-safe parts. That means if that part fails, there's potential that that could cause the sub to go down. So they want, you know, ultimate traceability with all of these, you know, parts that are made. Same thing in the medical side. You know, if there's any kind of issue, they want to be able to trace that number back to that lot of material. You know, you may not be the only purchaser of that lot. That might be out there in multiple places, so they want to be able to track all that down. If there was a problem with that material, you know, what else out in the world is made out of that, and they need to chase it all down. So you know, paperwork is hugely important. You know, I kind of tried to stress that a little bit this semester and was being a little more strict on the paperwork I gave you, and, you know, giving you multiple copies and, you know, just tracking all of that stuff. So it's very important, so you need to kind of keep that in mind too. They don't really mention that in the video about, you know, lot numbers and traceability and certifications for material, but you will see it out there. Just making sure you're utilizing the right stuff. Alright, so that's about all I've got for this week, and we'll be talking to you again next week.